Hi, I'm Nico. In this video I want to show you a few quick tips to work with the Cubase MixConsole. If you are not using Cubase, this video most likely will not really be useful to you, except if you are maybe considering buying Cubase, because let's face it, Cubase is awesome. So, few tips about the console. Recently, I've released an online course and I'm using Cubase in it, and I'm using the MixConsole as well. And people have been asking me questions, how I do this or how I do that in the MixConsole, because usually I work quickly with it, and I realized that some things maybe you don't know them already. So I will just go quickly through the list of questions that I received, and I will show you how I'm doing some things in the Cubase mixer. And honestly, Cubase is really, really good. I like it a lot. Everything that I'm going to show you will not apply to Logic, Ableton, or any other DAW. So let's get right to it. First, the layout. I have a question. It's my mixer doesn't look like yours. How do you display this or that? Blah blah. So yeah, let me show you a few things. First thing, you can style the console the way you want. So the first place you want to look at is this racks thing, and this racks will allow you to change what you see in the mixer rack. So I open it, and you see, for example, here I have these equalizers. I can click on it, and now I have this extra bar here that just appeared, and I can click on it, and now I have an EQ inside my rack. I don't use it because I prefer to use my own EQ plugins on the inserts here. So let's get rid of this. And for example, here at the top I have the routing. So I see, for example, that this viola's long bus outputs to strings long, and I can change the routing here. But I think that by default on Cubase the routing is not shown. So typically you go to racks, enable routing, and boom, done. Next thing that you can look at, it's this setup window layout here. So here you have a few options of some things that you can display or not. For example, I like to display the notepad. You don't see it here. It's this bar is actually a notepad. You can type text in it. Let me just remove it. You see, now it's gone, and now it's here. It's this area here. So for example, I can go inside any channel, double click, and I can type some text. Woohoo! Hi Bob. And there I can leave some text on my buses, like don't forget to bypass the compressor, or I don't know what. So just a notepad attached to each channel. Really useful. Another thing, someone asked me, why is my stereo out docked on the right and some buses on the left, and so on and so forth. You can dock stuff in Cubase. So to do that, you show hide the left zone here, and you see here at the bottom this tab, it says zones. So you click on it, and here you can, for example, I don't know, I open my groups here, and I have these two buses, strings long and strings short. I want to dock them on the left of my screen, and I want them to stay there. So you have these three buttons here. You see, I put them on the left, and now these buses are docked on the left, and they will stay docked at the left of my screen. Even if I have more channels that my screen can fit, I can scroll horizontally but these two buses, they will always stay on the left, and same on the right. And for the right part, I like to have my reverb, mix bus, master bus, and stereo output always docked like this. So now, if for example my center zone here, if I get more buses, more instruments, I can scroll horizontally, and only this part will move. This will stay docked at the right, and this will stay docked on the left. If I go back to the channel tab here, this is the visibility one. For example, let's say that in my track I'm not using these pizzicato buses, so I can just go, where are they? Here in the instrument groups, and I can deactivate them, and I don't see them. I didn't delete them, I'm just hiding them, okay? So I can re-enable them. I can also simply, for example, not show the violas. Boom, they are gone, they don't show, and they don't clutter my screen. So that's it for displaying stuff and docking. Let me move on to the next option. Oh yeah, multiple buses at the same time. This is an interesting one. Look, let's say that I want to change the volume of all the short strings buses here. They are the yellow ones, because I colored them yellow. By the way, to change the color, you hover on the bus, you have this arrow that come, you click on it, and you can select a color. Right. So I select all my buses with Shift, or if I only want to select some buses like violins, one, violas, and basses, I do that with Command on a Mac, and with Control on Windows. So here we go, and here I have here I have these three buses selected. Awesome, but if I move the fader, it's not moving the other ones. So I will show you that. But first, quick tip, to go back to the default position in Cubase, a lot of plugins and functions work like this. If I control click it on PC or command click it on Mac, boom, it goes back to the default position, okay? Same with the panner. If I do that and I command click it, boom, goes back to center. So this allows you to work faster. What you can do now to move all of them together, here at the top you have this thing called quick link, Q-link here. I can click on it, and now I have a quick link activated for these three buses, and you see they all move together. Just undo. But I don't like this quick link button, because more often than not I forget to disable it. So I'm moving some stuff, the quick link is still activated, and I changed some settings and it's changing them on all the selected buses, and I don't like that. So what you can do is you can have a temporary quick link. So it's only valid while you press Option Shift on a Mac or Alt Shift on a PC. So I do that on my keyboard, Option Shift, and you see, as soon as on my keyboard I press Option Shift, trust me, that's exactly what I'm doing on my keyboard. There is no black magic behind the scenes, just Option Shift. You see the quick link button here is enabled, and as soon as I release it on my keyboard, I'm going to release it, boom, it's deactivated. So Option Shift, move stuff, release it, done. That's really cool, right? So now we've seen the quick link, but let me move some stuff here. Let's say that for all these buses, I want to drop the volume by 3 dB on all of them. So this one would be minus 4.37, this one would be minus 3, this one would be minus 10.10, so on and so forth. What I can do is I can double click in the value and minus 4.37 to drop by 3 dB. Now again, Option Shift, Alt Shift on Windows, you see that the quick link here is activated, and now I press Enter on my keyboard and look at what will happen to all these ones. Boom, they all move by 3 dB. That's really cool, right? So this means that all the changes I'm doing on one bus, the other buses will apply the same change but relative to it. So if I add 3 dB, so let's go back to what have I done here? Minus 1.37 and quick link, and they all move by 3 dB again. What if I want to set them all, let's say, to minus 5 dBs, all of them. So minus 5 dB here, minus 5, blah, 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 all of them. You have this button here. It's absolute. I said just before that the change I did was relative. And now I don't want a relative change, I want an absolute change. So I can click on it, so it enables it, and I can say minus 5, quick link again on my keyboard, so Option Shift, and now you see they are all on minus 5. They are not relative to anymore. Don't forget to remove the absolute mode if you are not using it. This is an error I do quite often, and I don't think that there is something like the quick link that is just temporary for the absolute mode. Anyway, now I want to go through the questions that were about working with insert plugins. But before we do that, I just want to pass you a very quick message from my sponsor, and my sponsor is none other than me. So yeah, I will see you in exactly 15 seconds. I know I've done this message and it lasts 15 seconds. So see you soon. And I'm back. I hope that I'm not rambling too much and that you are getting some value out of this video. Again, it's Cubase specific, so if you are not using Cubase, tough luck. Anyway, oh, by the way, the ad that you've just seen for my course, the music for the ad was done entirely with the template that we are building in the course. So, you know, maybe you want to check this out. Anyway, I said that we would look at working with insert plugins. So yeah, first thing I want to do is, let's say that I add a plugin here. I will add this Fab Filter EQ, and I'm doing some changes to it, and I'm really happy with this EQ curve, and I would like to apply the same to this bus here. So most likely you know that already. You can just drag and drop it here, but if you hold Alt on Windows or Option on Mac, you have this small plus that is coming and it duplicates the plugin with the same settings. You see, if I open it, I have the same settings on both. So really cool. And now if I want to get rid of them together, again, I can use this quick link thing, say no effect, and boom, they are gone. Right, so this is how you can quickly copy plugins. If you want to insert the same plugin on all these buses, what you can do is select them all, find the plugin that you want to use, you again quick link it, and the plugin will be applied to all of the channels. Now, this is something that I do very, very often. When I mix strings, for example, what I like to do is first clean some of the resonances with this Soothe 2 plugin by Oak Sound, whatever. I use this plugin, but I don't use its default settings. I like to start with a value around 4 and the release a bit longer, for example, and when I'm done cleaning the sound, I add a bit of saturation with the Decapitator. But for strings, I don't use it on the E settings, I use it on A. And I start with a drive at about 3. You know, okay, it's entirely dependent on the track that I'm mixing, but this is just to show you something. And you know what? We'll not use the A, we'll use the T, so you can see what I'm doing. And then I EQ the sound. So after cleaning it and adding some saturation, usually I add low shelf, and then I will start sweeping to find the stuff that I want to tame. So I have this sweep thing here. It's a high Q of about 8, but let's put it back on a gain of 0, and that. And usually this is my chain, my basic chain for mixing strings. Sometimes a compressor can go after it, or OTT, multiband, any other kind of plugin. But these 3 usually they stay. What I could do now is that I could take each of these plugins and go and copy and paste them on each of the buses, but it would take a while. So this is why you can hover on just the title insert here, and you see you have this square that appeared. It's very small, but click on it. Now I can save this chain. So I click on Save Effects, and I will give it a name. Let's call it Test Mix Strings, because I already have a mix strings. It's it's about the same, so I'm giving it another name. Usually what I like to do is to put a rating to this thing, and I filter by rating, so I only see my own chain presets, and I don't see the Cubase default ones. And I say, okay, now I can come to another bus, hover until this small square appears, click on it, load, and I can say test mix strings, and you see they all appear. But most important thing is that they all appear, but see the default settings that I set, for example, this T option here and the drive at 3, they stay. They get saved with the preset chain. Other quick tip, if you want to get rid of all of these plugins at the same time, you can right click on Insert here and say Clear, asking you for confirmation, and you get rid of all the plugins. Okay, this was for the preset chain. Now, someone asked me why. Look, if I put a plugin here, it's blue, means it's activated, and you can bypass it also. And when it's bypassed, the plugin is still active, but the signal is passing right through it without the effects applied to the signal. So bypass enabled, this blue is enabled, gray is bypassed. But some people notice that some of my plugins, they are not gray, they are black. And why is that? let me show you that with another plugin. I will use Ozone because it's adding more latency, so you can see what I mean. See here, the small value 16.3 milliseconds is the latency added to the bus by the plugin that you add here. So if we look at my master bus, we have 69.3 milliseconds of latency is the total latency generated by all the plugins. If I bypass the plugin, look at what will happen. Plugin is bypassed, but we still have this latency. And why is that? It is because the plugin is still in the chain. It is still loaded in memory. The signal will still go through it, even though nothing will be applied to the signal. The plugin will not affect the signal while it's bypassed. It is still taking the signal in and outputting it. So this is why it is still creating this latency here. So what you can do is on Windows you can hold Alt, and on Mac you can hold Option. When you bypass it, and you see when I hold Option, it's the bypass icon is changing into a button, and now if I click on it, the plugin is entirely unloaded from memory. You just have its name here, but the plugin physically is not there anymore, and this is why the latency is set to 0, because the signal now is not passing through the plugin. It's like if it didn't exist. And one quick tip: when I save my my plugin chains here, usually I save them in not in a bypassed mode, but in a unloaded, disabled. I think the right name here is disabled. I save them in disable mode. So this way I can load my plugins. It will not add latency, and I can choose to turn them on only if I'm going to need it. Of course, when I'm A/B testing, I'm just bypassing, you know, when mixing, for example. But to completely get rid of the plugin, Option click, and this is what happens. And now I'm going to show you something that is quite cool as well. Let me add a plugin on this, the same plugin on this group. We've seen before that the quick link is Option Shift, so I can Option Shift and bypass, and now they are gray, they are in a bypass state. We know they are bypassed also because we see the value here at the bottom. It's still adding, generating some latency. But what if I want to disable all the plugins at once? We've seen that for disabling we need to hold Alt on Windows or Option on Mac. But you know, Option here, I'm already using the key for the quick link. So what you do is you quick link, so Alt Shift, bypass, then you stay pressed on the, you don't release this key command from your keyboard. I'm still pressing on it now. My left hand at this very moment is still on Alt Shift, and you see that because the quick link is activated. So what you do is you just release the Shift key, not the Option, just the Shift. And now my finger is only on the Alt, and you see quick link is still activated. So now I can disable the plugin. Okay, let's do it one more time. Try to follow along. I know that I'm not being very clear, but anyway, this is something I'm using all of the time. Try to get this thing in your muscle memory. It will save you a lot of time. So quick link, release Shift, and click once more, and now we are disabled. Okay, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, that's it. We are done with this videos. With this video, I went through that list of questions. So if you still have questions, keep them coming. I will try to answer them. If you have some tips about the console that you would like to share as well, you use the comments to do that. Obviously, I don't know everything there is to know about Cubase. It's a huge software, and I'm discovering every day new, maybe not every day, but at least once a week I discover something new in it. It's really cool. So if you have some stuff you want to share, do that. And right now would be a great time to stop watching videos and go write some great music.